The Death Valley vanishing. On July 23, 1999, German tourist Egbert Rimkus set off into Death Valley with his partner Cornelia Meyer and her son Max. They planned to explore remote dirt roads and see the valley's lesser-known areas. Temperatures that week exceeded 50 degrees Celsius. Their vehicle carried limited supplies and no way to communicate distress. When the car was later found abandoned on a dry wash, investigators reconstructed their path. The family had attempted to walk out of the valley after becoming stuck. The desert around them stretched endlessly. No shade, no running water, and no structures. The heat grew unbearable and dehydration overtook their bodies. Search teams combed the region for weeks. Helicopters traced faint trails. Footprints vanished within hours as the wind sculpted the dunes. The desert swallowed every clue. It was not until 2009 that hikers found skeletal remains belonging to Cornelia and Max. Years later, additional remains were confirmed to be Egbert. Despite this tragedy, Death Valley remains a magnet for visitors. Tourists hike in the midday sun with small water bottles. Some wander off established paths, believing the distances are short. Rangers respond to numerous heat emergencies every summer. The valley appears silent and empty, but its silence hides the crushing force of extreme heat. The Chernobyl stalker death. On a freezing morning in 2004, an illegal explorer known as Victor entered the Chernobyl exclusion zone with a group of stalkers. He wanted to see the abandoned city of Pripyat, its silent classrooms and the rusted Ferris wheel left behind after the 1986 reactor explosion. Patrols were lighter then, and the group planned a full day of exploration. They walked through snow-covered woods carrying minimal equipment. As they moved between structures, they unknowingly stepped into a hotspot of radioactive moss. Dust clung to their boots. Victor felt a strange burning in his throat, but continued climbing stairwells and weaving through empty rooms. Hours later, he began to stagger. His breathing grew weak. The group panicked and tried to support him, but exhaustion mixed with acute exposure overwhelmed his body. They left him near a decayed apartment block and retreated to find help anonymously, knowing they risked arrest. When officials reached the site, Victor had already died. His body displayed signs of extreme physical collapse, likely intensified by radiation. Tourists today walk through Pripyat on controlled routes. They take selfies with peeling murals, broken pianos, and abandoned tricycles. Some kneel on contaminated soil, touching objects that should remain untouched. Guides tell them to avoid moss and rusted metal. Yet every season, someone ignores a warning to get a dramatic photograph in a place that still carries the invisible threats of its past. The Danakil heat tragedy. In the early months of 2008, an Italian tourist named Paolo joined an expedition into the Danakil Depression in Ethiopia. Guides briefed the group on the extreme conditions: volcanic gas vents, unstable salt fields, and temperatures rising near 50 degrees Celsius. Paolo listened closely but did not appear worried. The colors of Danakil, the bright yellows and toxic greens, drew him forward. The Danakil landscape is like a distorted dream. Acid pools bubble violently, crystals crunch like glass under footsteps. Heat radiates upward, making the air shimmer as if the world is melting. After the group walked across a broad salt flat, Paolo began to slow. His legs weakened. He told the guide that he felt dizzy, then sat down on the salt crust. The desert does not give time for recovery. Paolo's temperature rose rapidly, a textbook heat stroke unfolding in minutes. The group tried to shade him with scarves and gave him water, but the nearest vehicle was far from their track. When rescuers finally arrived, he no longer responded. His death marked one of several tragedies recorded in that unforgiving region. Yet Danakil continues to attract those fascinated by dangerous landscapes. Visitors stare at boiling pools only meters away. They photograph the volcanic glow of Erta Ale at night. They walk the same flats where life cannot survive. And every season, guides repeat their warnings to new guests who underestimate the place that gave the Earth some of its most violent colors. The Mount Hua Death Path. On a morning in the year 2011, a young Chinese student stepped onto the narrow plank walk of Mount Hua. His name was never released to the public, but friends later described him as careful, focused, and excited to see the mountain's aerial walkway. The wooden planks bolted directly into the vertical cliffs had already earned a reputation as one of the most dangerous routes in Asia. The walkway itself is no more than a thin strip of weathered boards secured by rusted metal pins. Chains rattle in the wind. The rock wall looms on one side, while an open drop stretches endlessly on the other. Each step requires deliberate attention. The students' group moved slowly, stopping at certain sections to take photos of the valley far below. At the midpoint, the student shifted his footing, trying to position himself for a picture. Witnesses heard the scrape of his shoe against the plank and the brief clatter of the safety chain. In an instant, he leaned too far, lost balance, and slipped into the void. His friends screamed as he vanished through the fog. Rescue teams searched for hours before confirming he had fallen to his death. Today, the planks remain crowded with hikers, influencers, and thrill seekers eager to film themselves above the abyss. Many clip into their harnesses incorrectly. Many lean backward for dramatic pictures, and the path continues to hold its silent danger, balanced between beauty and fatal misjudgment. The Snake Island Fisherman. During the mid-1960s, a fisherman named João was caught in a fierce storm off the coast of Brazil. Waves forced his small vessel toward Ilha da Queimada Grande, known worldwide as Snake Island. His boat crashed against jagged rocks, and João climbed onto the island seeking shelter. He did not know that the island held one of the highest densities of venomous snakes on the planet. Golden lancehead vipers moved through the underbrush, across branches and under fallen logs. Within minutes of stepping inland, João suffered multiple bites. When rescuers eventually reached the shore, they found his remains surrounded by signs of the vipers that dominated the island's ecosystem. The Brazilian Navy later banned all access to the island, permitting only scientific teams with strict precautions. Still, fishermen continue to venture near the coastline, drawn by rich fish stocks. Some drop anchor too close to the rocks. Rumors persist of boats that disappeared after storms pushed them toward the island. None of these stories end with survival. Snake Island remains untouched, a place where nature evolved without human interference. It is both fascinating and lethal, and its dangers come not from height or heat, but from a single misstep into foliage that hides silent predators. The Montserrat evacuation disaster. On July 18, 1995, the Soufriere Hills volcano on Montserrat erupted violently after centuries of inactivity. Ash climbed thousands of meters into the sky, and officials rushed to evacuate the southern part of the island. Most residents fled north toward shelters, but some returned briefly to retrieve belongings, believing they still had time. Among them were 12 locals living near a valley below the volcano. They moved quickly through their homes, grabbing clothing, photographs, and documents. The ash clouds seemed to drift away from their position, giving the illusion of safety, but a sudden eruption sent a pyroclastic flow racing downhill. The flow's speed, heat, and density made escape impossible. All 12 died within moments. Today, the abandoned capital of Plymouth lies buried beneath layers of ash and hardened volcanic debris. Streets end abruptly in gray dunes. Vehicles sit half submerged. Buildings lean at angles that defy imagination. Tourists visit with local guides who lead them through restricted zones, always mindful of shifting ground and hidden vents. In 2010, a fresh plume of ash erupted while a group was touring an overlook. Guides ushered them back to their vehicles as fine particles filled the air. The eruption was small, but it reaffirmed that the volcano remains active. The danger may sleep, but it never disappears. The fatal fall at Lake Natron. In 2005, a Maasai herder named Lamayan searched for goats along the shimmering edge of Lake Natron in northern Tanzania. The water glowed red under the sun, and mineral crusts formed shapes that looked deceptively solid. Lamayan followed hoofprints across a white patch that cracked quietly under his feet. Suddenly, the crust collapsed. He plunged into a pool of super alkaline water, strong enough to burn skin almost instantly. Lamayan tried to climb out, but the wet chemical mixture made the rocks slippery. His companions shouted and attempted to reach him, but were forced back by the intense burning sensation from the splashing water. Lamayan lost consciousness quickly, and rescuers arrived too late. His death became a warning for the communities around the lake. Even animals that misjudge the ground near Natron often perish, their bodies calcifying into eerie stone-like forms. Photographers, however, continue to approach the shoreline to capture the surreal colors. Some walk dangerously close. Some test the crust with tentative steps. The lake offers stunning visuals, but it hides chemical dangers beneath its calm surface. Natron reminds visitors that beauty can mask something far more hostile. The Nyiragongo lava rescue failure. On January 17, 2002, a young man named Habimana ran through the outskirts of Goma as Mount Nyiragongo erupted with violent speed. A fissure tore open along the volcano's flank, releasing lava that moved faster than any human could outrun. The night glowed red, and smoke drifted across the neighborhoods. Habimana gathered his younger cousins and guided them toward a United Nations checkpoint. Ash fell like dark snow. The ground trembled under their feet. One of the children stumbled on the uneven path, and Habimana turned back to lift him. The lava advanced in those few seconds, flowing like a river of molten metal. Witnesses later described seeing a surge of glowing rocks sweep over the path. Habimana vanished instantly in the red glare. The child he saved survived and was carried away by aid workers. His bravery remains part of the local memory of that eruption. Despite that event, climbers still ascend Nyiragongo, eager to see the massive lava lake at its summit. They stand at the crater's edge looking down at the churning pool. The heat radiates intensely. Cracks appear on the trail without warning. Guides remind tourists repeatedly that the volcano can erupt again with almost no time to flee. But the allure of seeing Earth's molten heart keeps drawing people upward.